Hello everybody and welcome back to another new vlog. Thank you for joining me once again. I'm back out in the Peak District once again today, and I'm heading along Baslow Edge at the moment. I started in the village of Baslow and I've headed up to Baslow Edge, and from here I'm going to carry on along Kerbet Edge, Froggatt Edge, back through the Longshore Estate and down through Padley Gorge back to Grindleford. I've done this walk before several times. Once going the opposite way, in actual fact from Grindleford back over to Baslow, across all of those aforementioned edges, but also I've done the walk from Grindleford up through Padley Gorge and along through the Longshore Estate almost as far as Froggatt Edge, and then turned back and walked back the other way back to Grindleford. And I've also done a walk from Baslow up through past Baslow Edge and up to Kerbet Edge almost as far as Froggatt Edge, and then turn back and walk back across Baslow Edge back down into Baslow. But today I'm doing the walk all the way from Baslow, across Baslow Edge, Kerbet Edge, Froggatt Edge, Longshore Estate, Padley Gorge and back to Grindleford. It's a nice long walk. It'll take a few hours, probably about another 3 hours from where I am right now. I've had a good 45 minutes to an hour walking already, but it's a beautiful day. Sun's out, it's almost wall-to-wall blue skies, just the odd wisp of high cloud in the sky, but it's about 24-25 degrees as well, which is wonderful for this time of year. So I'm out and about again. I'm going to stop and take a few photos along the way, as I always do, but for now I'm going to keep walking and head over towards the very end of Baslow Edge. So I've just stood at the far end of Baslow Edge here and taken 2 or 3 photos, but I'm kind of experimenting a little bit. I'm using 2 different cameras and 2 different lenses. First of all, I'm using the Canon EOS R6 Mark III, which is a full frame sensor camera, and I'm using the RF 14 to 35mm L series f4 lens, and then I'm also using the Canon EOS R50V, which is an APS C or cropped sensor camera, with the RFS 14 to 30mm STM lens f4 to 6.3, and I'm just basically experimenting, not to try and prove that any one of those systems is better than the other. In fact, exactly the opposite, to try and prove to you guys that pretty much any camera that you get these days is going to be a really good camera and great for photography. And the best way that I can do that is by showing you the images, letting you know which camera and lens combination has taken the images, and then you can decide for yourself whether or not you can tell any difference between the two. In the meantime, I'm going to carry on now over towards Kerbet Edge. So up on Kerbet Edge, pretty much the same scenario, to be honest with you. Basically I'm doing a composition every now and then and just taking the composition with the R6 Mark III and the RF 14 to 35 f4L, and then I'm switching over to the R50V with the RFS 14 to 30 f4 to 6.3 lens, and just basically taking the shots, repeating the same shots, and like I said, it's not really to try to prove that one is better than the other, but merely to prove that gear doesn't really matter. Whatever type of photography you're doing, pretty much every camera will be absolutely ideal for it. It's just a case of you understanding yourself what the limitations of some cameras might be and working with those, but also just being aware that basically image quality is always going to be really good anyway, so you don't really need to worry about trying to get something that's going to have much better image quality just because it's a much more expensive camera. It's a completely ridiculous idea, that is. But yeah, it's been a really interesting walk so far. Every now and then I'm finding myself drawn to one of these gritstone slabs that kind of sticks out right on the very edge of the landscape, giving this particular landscape its edge status. And obviously there's quite a few edges in this area, as you know. You've probably seen me on quite a few of them recently. But yeah, it's a case of going to the edge of that slab and looking over into the scenery ahead, and capturing an image which kind of takes in some of the rocks and the slabs around me, but also then leads your eye out into the scene in the distance. And I'm looking down on the villages of Baslow, Kerber, and eventually Froggatt as I'm walking along these edges. I don't think those villages themselves are really that prominent in the images, but it's the whole scene that works quite well. So you've got a foreground interest with the rocks, and you've also got that background interest with the villages below. Beautiful photos, but a beautiful day to be taking photos as well. I'm just about to drop down now towards Froggatt Edge, and I'll take some more photos there in a moment. I'm now back down onto Froggatt Edge. I'd forgotten, having done the walk before, but the other way around. I hadn't realised that the drop down from Kerber Edge to Froggatt Edge was quite a treacherous one. It wasn't so bad going up when I was going the opposite way, but coming down it was quite treacherous, quite rocky, and I was losing my footing a little bit. You saw me have a bit of a slip earlier when I was up on Kerber Edge on the flat, really. But then coming down on that rocky section was very treacherous. But I've managed to get down without breaking my ankle. I'm onto Froggatt Edge, and I'm coming to a section now where I stood once before and took a photo. I'm not so sure that the composition works that well in such bright sunlight at the moment. The last time I took it, it was a little bit cloudy and a little bit misty. It was quite a nice image, but for today I don't think it's going to work very well. I'm not so sure there's very many decent compositions here on Froggatt Edge anyway, so the next images are probably going to be from either the Longshore Estate or Padley Gorge in a little while. Guys, I've taken a wrong turn again. Utter bell end, I hear you cry. Well, Ordinarily you would be right to cry utter bell end, because ordinarily that would be a mistake, but today my wrong turn has meant that I've cut out the Longshore Estate from my walk, and I've cut out Padley Gorge from my walk, and I've ended up back almost at Grindleford station with probably about an hour to spare. So what does that mean? Basically means I've got time to have my lunch, maybe have a pint in the Maynard Inn just down the road, and then take a walk back up to Grindleford station, which has worked out well for me, but it's not really great for the video, is it? So apologies for that, guys. A slight wrong turn, a slight detour, but it's worked out nicely for me. So if you've enjoyed the images and if you've enjoyed the vlog, then please remember to give it a thumbs up, and also please remember to subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and I look forward to seeing you all on another vlog very soon. Bye for now.